what is up, fight fans? We are back for another episode of The Real and the Rare. I'm your host, as always, Stephen Rochelle. My special guest this afternoon, this evening, all depending where you're catching us from, is my good friend Rayne Wells. He's a fighter. He's a fight manager. He's he works in all areas of combat sports that allows him to, and we're gonna be picking his brain this afternoon, this evening. Like I said, wherever you're catching him from, if you're over the pond, if you're in another zip code, that's something me and Rayne were talking about before getting on. We had to get our zip codes right, make sure everything was good, but. Combat sports world is always something interesting to talk about, always something to go over, and the one of our I guess I always say the one of our Mount Rushmores of women's combat sports veterans had a lot to say this week. I don't know if you've seen this. Did you see Rhonda was on I think Bert Kreiser's podcast, and she wasn't holding punches. She was coming at just about everyone's throat. Did you happen to catch any of that?
I didn't catch it, but I should tell you before we go any further with that I'm good friends with her brother.
Like, that's awesome.
Good friends.
When she was in her hate, listen, I'm not a Rhonda hater. I'm not. Listen, I love women's combat sports. It doesn't matter which level we're talking about. Rhonda, I have this saying here: Gina Carano crawled so Rhonda can run. And
yeah, exactly.
Rhonda went and had her baton taken by one Amanda Nunes.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're getting the next generation of that as well, because we're about to see Amanda and our new champion down there also get ready to take it on. I hope they push that one back to the White House card, because Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes at the White House would be must see TV, at least in my opinion.
But I met Kayla Harrison and didn't have about 8 years ago and had no clue who she was. She signed this thing for me. I was like, "Oh, thanks. I have no idea who you are."
That's funny. But, when obviously, I had a stepdaughter at the time, and she was having some stuff, and we were putting her in combat sports, and she absolutely fell in love with Rhonda. Everything, her bravado, whatever you want to call it. She even my younger daughter, she got so involved. Her favorite fighter up until she retired was Felice Herring.
Oh yeah.
She was just, she was unabashful. She didn't have a filter. And I think that's a lot of reason why some of these people don't really care for him. But listen, I think Rhonda's a pioneer in so many levels. And there's even people like I mentioned Gina Carano, Tara LaRosa is another one I think is very important to the early stages of what women's combat sports was. And, we can even go even further to with some of the boxers. I mean, obviously we're about to see Sydney Sweeney do Chrissy Martin's story. I'm really looking forward to that. We don't get a whole lot of combat sports movies that are outside the boxing realm, but I mean, I think Dwayne Johnson did a great job with the Smashing Machine, and I know some it didn't get the numbers in the box office, but I don't think we can judge that anymore, just because where we consume movies anymore is more streaming than going to the theater. So I think some of these movie studios have to adjust on their expectation things, regardless of what your budget was, however you go, whatever. Some of these movies they do way better on the streaming side of things than people do actually going to the theater anymore, at least in my opinion. But going back to what was being said, Rhonda had a lot to say. And, there was a couple things that she said that kind of brought out to me when she was basically being asked, why we haven't seen her and things like that. And Rhonda brought up a good thing. And MMA community can take it for however they want. But she basically said, when you look at the WWE, they have such a reverence for their legends. And she's absolutely true. When we're talking about, pro wrestling legends, WWE legends, that they are held to a certain standard. But in MMA, it's like the second you're not on the top anymore, you're shit. You're the worst thing that's ever come through.
Absolutely.
And I don't necessarily disagree with her that
Yeah.
once that title, once you lose that, or the entire the entire masses that is the MMA community that doesn't really give you the love and respect that you see the wrestlers have. And I think she's hit that spot on. You could take that however you want. She's not wrong there. The same thing, you know, Jose Aldo was the greatest thing since sliced bread through that lighter classes. The minute he lost to Conor McGregor, it's like he doesn't exist anymore. I'm like, what are we talking about? So
yeah.
I think she's right. I think there's a different level of respect when it comes to the wrestling community with the wrestling legends than what it is in the MMA community with the MMA legends.
Look, even boxing, look at how they're treating Canelo right now. like he's done.
Like, dude, he lost to Crawford, and I think Crawford fought an immaculate played fight.
Yeah,
like he fought inside the shell. He was aggressive when he needed to. He was lighting Canelo up.
absolutely.
Mean, granted, like you didn't get this great knockdown, slug out that you know. I guess the blood enthusiast of the combat sport realm always want. But as far as two high level boxers, I felt that you know, regardless of who was promoting it, what else was done. Like, there were some fights on that card. I was like, what in the hell was going on? Like, early stoppages.
Yeah.
Like, we can argue about different aspects of refereeing, officiating as we continue to go on tonight. But I see it a lot, and you know, I think the MMA fan needs to adopt the reverence that we see a lot of our dude. John Cena has gotten damn near a 2-year retirement tour, and everyone, for lack of they used to hate him because he was the baby face that everyone couldn't stand anymore. He you know, he's been going and acting. I think he's been doing a killer job at you know, picking his roles, finding some of this niche for him. Where a lot of people, when Dwayne Johnson came in, it was like they were turning their nose up at him, like they couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, that Dwayne found his niche inside of the you know, the Hollywood movie realm. I already said it. If you haven't, please go watch the Smashing Machine, especially if you're a old school combat sports fan. I think Dwayne knocked that out of the park. And for what people don't know, he also donated a portion of what he was getting paid to his co-star.
Wow.
So, like, a lot of people like to hate on Dwayne for a lot of reasons. Like, listen, everyone talks about what happened with Fast and the Furious, and maybe there were some things that that rubbed him the wrong way, and he handled it wrong. Us as human beings, we don't always handle things the greatest way that you should. It's just the way the life goes sometimes. But it's one of these things where I won't hear it, dude. I think The Rock did a great job. I'm really looking forward to. I think it's the 7th. I think it's November 7th that Chrissy is going to be in theaters. Like, listen, you know, for the female, you know, combat sports athletes, fans, whatever, I think you definitely need to go and check that out. What was one of the other ones that she said? Oh, and you know, this is something I think we can all kind of agree on. There was another part of the comment that was made, and it was talking about Dana White, and basically she said, when Dana's done, I think the dominant MMA organization title will be up for grabs, and I totally agree with her. I think that the UFC is absolutely nothing without Dana White. Without him, it's just letters. What her comments. I think she's right. I've been sitting there saying it for a few years. I think the UFC is having a big problem right now, and I think, you know, they're not developing stars that we used to see on the regular when the Ultimate Fighter was in its heyday. You know, when they would have seasons, there was almost like 5 fighters or more that you immediately attached yourself to and you were invested. I don't know. It's because they don't quite do the countdown shows the way they used to. I don't know what the formula is, or is it just the newer age fighter is just it's a different animal. Maybe it's something we've already seen. I can't sit there and say put my finger on it, but they're not developing stars like what we see. And this is go even another level into this, that we've seen what we've seen in bare knuckle. Bare knuckle has found the way in multiple different promotions to build up fighters that are now approaching superstar status, regardless if they were in MMA, regardless if they were in boxing, regardless if they were a nobody before the sport came, that regardless if we're talking BKB, BKFC, if we're talking Ken Shamrock's version of bare knuckle, they all have stars in their organization that they could easily sell out arenas with. And it's, Dana got set off. There was a Q&A. He was sitting down there with Nina, and the first one was like, why is next weekend's card absolutely like dog poo? And Dana's like, the card hasn't even gone off. How can you sit there and say it's a terrible card? We're not even a week away from the event. Like, guys, come on. Like, I think they are having a star problem. And I think when Conor McGregor officially leaves the UFC, leaves the MMA scene, I think when Alex Pereira walks away, he walks away, Max Holloway walks away. When those guys leave, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, they're not selling the personalities like they used to. I mean, look at we used to see all Conor McGregor. You couldn't get him out of your face. He was on everything. Sports science shows, all kinds of shit.
I don't know what it is. A lot of people saying it's TKO, and TKO's ruining both the UFC and WWE. Listen, if anyone's ruined the WWE, it's Triple H. He's the one. He's the one that takes control of the whole creative window. Granted, he's not Vince. And I still think there was a lot of things that Vince did wrong, creative-wise, regardless of any other thing. But you can't get everything 100% right 100% of the times. Everything can't be perfect. That's not the world we live in, and that's I don't agree with just putting that on one thing. But I do agree when Dana White decides that he's done with the UFC, they're going to be in a world full of trouble.
He built it,
Him and he did it with the Fertitta brothers' money.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But he went and took them from Spike TV to Fox to CBS to
They were ready to walk, bro, and he pulled it. He reined it in. So.
They paid for the first season of The Ultimate Fighter out of their own pocket because Spike wouldn't air it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not just his, but the Fertitta brothers' belief in what they had and what Dana was capable of. You could say whatever you want. Dana's this, Dana's that. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And there's things that they do right now that kind of irritates me. I just seen, one of these guys got hurt, wasn't in the camp, and he's online begging for money to have MRIs and surgeries. I think that's something that has to be. It doesn't matter if they're under your contract with you and they've had a fight. They've been in your ring, that they should be under your medical.
Yeah. All promotions are bad about that, though. All promotions.
I agree. And it's some of these things where we don't have a perfect formula. When it comes to the combat sports, where boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, whatever. There's not a perfect formula with that. Anyone's free from being judged, whatever.
Yeah, criticized, ridiculed.
The vertical. Now, a few other things we wanted to kind of touch on. Obviously, the big thing over the last few days have been the eye poke situation, right? And Herb Dean basically says that there's been meetings, conversations looking into that, and something's going to be changed moving forward. This has been something we've talked about in MMA for a while. It's not just a Tom Aspinall situation. I don't agree with the fact that we're talking about, Dana White basically sitting there saying that Tom wanted out. I don't know if he wanted out. I can't sit there and say it. I'm not in between his ears, but I don't think a guy that's been waiting a year and a half to kind of have his title defense is gonna find the way out the door with an eye poke that he ain't gonna get anything but his show money, which is I think wrong. I think it should have been a DQ, because it's one of those things when it's something that happens multiple times, and you're warned and you're continuing, and everyone wants to say, oh, well, you listen, if you're putting your hand out with your hands open like this, and it's not like, I think if you're moving your hand forward like this in a parry type of situation, that there has to be some type of warning. There has to be some type of recourse. You're a guy that's been in there. What would you like seeing done in this situation where we are getting eye pokes, we are getting things that are happening in big fights? We've seen videos. It doesn't matter if it's John Jones or some other fighter where they get knuckle deep eye poke, and the fight's off, or we're sitting there waiting 5, 6, 7 minutes, and for a stoppage, because they're trying not to see triple vision out there, because
I mean, they're handling it the only way they really can. I know they changed the gloves in the
they
UFC.
changed it back. They did change it back. They did change it where they're supposed to be like I still think when we talk about this, Pride gloves are probably the better ones because of the way they were made. They covered the fingers. That you have some type of padding there, but I don't think it's as simple as a glove change. I think you do rule wise need to hold somebody accountable. When you're in that situation, but we're also talking about a sport where grappling's involved, and you need the use of free fingers. So it's a sensitive situation if you really ask me. But there's you can't just sit there and continue to go about it the way it's just because that's the status quo.
Well, yeah, I think rematches should be a thing too with that. Like, if there's an eye poke and a stoppage, I think your next fight has to be against the same guy. I mean,
I agree with that too.
That way you can't get out of it like that, and if not, you're in violation of the contract. See you later.
Yeah, if you're a title holder or whatever, that you're stripped. If you're ranked if you're ranked in the top 10, your rankings removed. There has to be some recourse that way if the rematch isn't immediately set up. You can clearly see there's not a situation with that for this one, but I mean, man,
yeah, I agree.
Now, the other thing that came out, I don't know, like I said, if you've seen this weekend, but this fight fixing stuff has really been come out there. There was a lot of money that came in. We're talking about the betting aspect of things coming on. Obviously, the FBI probe of what's going on in the NBA right now. Again, we're talking about games being fixed, things like that. But over this past weekend, a guy that was in James Krause's camp before, you're starting to see a large amount of money come in over the weekend, where the FBI did say something to the UFC like, hey, we're getting a lot of money in on so and so's opponent, things like that. Obviously, the James Krause situation, was something that you take of it. It's the same thing when we're talking about, Wall Street and insider trading and insider deals. It's the same. It's in the same ilk when we're talking about combat sports. If somebody in your gym, knows that you completely dislocated your shoulder, a week before your fight, and be like, listen. Calls up his bookie and betting the farm against you, then yeah, there should be some things like that. Like, you shouldn't be able to bet on that. But we've all the sports. It doesn't matter if we're talking NFL, NBA, NHL. What we've all adopted the prop betting, whether it's DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever it is. We're in an age where betting is almost second nature. To the point where NFL guys are getting cussed out in their DMs because if you'd have caught that pass, I'd have was able to hit my 3 leg. Like, why are we in this day where you can message an athlete, basically tell them that they cost you money and everything under the sun. We just seen Isaiah Rodgers up there in Minnesota after get burnt by my Eagles. He had all kinds of racist people in his DMs calling him trash, calling him this name, that name. Like listen, man, there's lines that shouldn't be crossed. Betting
social
on your
media gave
teammates.
Everybody a voice.
I mean, I don't know how you fix this because the genie's already out of the bottle. The genie's already out of the bottle, but like I think that if there's something that is being done illegally and people making money off it, then people need to be held accountable for that. And I think this weekend they probably should have pulled that fight from the card if you're being called by the FBI, regardless of missing one fight on the card. It wasn't the main event. I think it was one of your middle tier events, whatever. Guy wound up getting choked out in the first round, and kind of from what I'm hearing, it looked like he wasn't doing much fighting back after the his back was secured. Again, it's something that if we've been watching jiu-jitsu and MMA for a while, you could tell when somebody's fighting something off or when somebody's checked out.
Yeah.
I think you have one of those situations, you should just pull it, man. If you're getting calls that's sitting there saying you're getting an exorbitant amount of money on one guy, then you should probably take a look into that and yank that.
Yeah.
But what are we gonna do now? Like, it's like literally like it doesn't matter where you go, like you can bet on just about anything on anyone.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I bet sports, and I especially get on FanDuel and bet BKFC. This week there was some guy that I know that does picks, and I sent him 5 picks. I went 5 for 5.
Hey man, like listen, but you're also involved in it where you see guys, you train with guys, you work with a lot of athletes, so you're in one of those situations. But like I was sitting there saying, the genie's out of the bottle. So just because you're somebody that's involved with all these athletes, should you be banned from betting? I don't think that's a fair way to go about it. It's the same thing, but James was setting his
There you are.
Yeah, I like I said, yeah, literally my whole thing just went out.
Yeah.
But your camera's off right now, though.
Let me see if I can do it.
Gotta love the technical issues. There you go. You're back.
Yeah. So I didn't see the
my
UFC.
cable went out, so I was like, I thought it was just the cable because I told you was on with them for a while. But a few more combat sports related one. Back to the eye poke thing. Kevin Lee was basically he's never eye poked anyone in some 22 fights. And what these guys are doing, it's on purpose. Refs should be taking points, all the same. A lot of people be faking too.
Yeah.
I hear Kevin with that one. There are guys that push that envelope and find a way out. I don't think everyone is though, but
Nah. I
now I
know.
did want to give you a chance to talk about a few of these other things you're working out. I know one thing we were talking about was the fight wax stuff. Now, I guess give everyone a quick to do about what fight wax is, and what are some of the products that you can get some of these guys involved with.
For sure. So, Fight Wax is a skin defense system. It's essentially an alternative to Vaseline. It's all natural. So, um, all the bad stuff that's in Vaseline, and there is a lot of it, you shouldn't be putting it on your skin, and we have been for a long time. So, Fight Wax is an all natural alternative to Vaseline. It has healing properties that are similar to triple antibiotic, and it's a total skin defense system. It's got a something called anyway, I'll get back to that. But so we got
I
the
think I pull some of the stuff up that I found on your
there's the price list. Yeah, for sure. So we got cans that are typically used for cornermen, and then we got tubes of skin defense product. And right now the company is based out of Canada, but I am the United States point of contact for sales. So they're going to ship product to me, and then I'm going to ship it around the US because been having a lot of problems with Canadian shipping lately. So we got merch as well, and the merch it's pretty high quality stuff. It's the hats are stitched, and the clothing is excellent material. It's just it's really good. So we're hoping to take over combat sports and replace Vaseline and other products that are not all natural.
Yeah, man, that's we talk about like some of the aspects of combat sport is still stuck in the old times, and I agree with you. Vaseline isn't something that should be continually being used to help our to help our athletes to prevent cuts during fights and things like that. So
Well, they have that stuff that you can pack in cuts that's like powder. That's terrible. But also we have studies that show Fight Wax is good for eczema, it's good for rashes. I mean, and we have doctors that were
my son
involved.
has eczema bad, so me and you need to have a conversation about this after we get off of here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's something that he's still dealing with, and he plays football. So I was just talking to him the other day. I'm like, you get your showers this week? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why do you look like a scaled alligator right now, dude? What's going on here?
Yeah, for sure. Good product. Gotta check it out.
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to do. And the other side of that was you're also involved with another program that's the
Sponsored fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started a website called sponsorfighters.com probably a little over a month ago. Right now we have 300,000 clicks. In the first month we had 200,000. And then we also have 150 active users, and we just started the business profile section. So fighters can get on, they can create a profile. Then what we do is we use scraping data from Google. So if a business is advertised with Google, we'll take the fighter, look and see where he's from. We'll scrape all the data from all the sites that have advertised with Google, and we'll send that fighter's profile. So the better profile with the more links that you make, the more information is going to go to a potential sponsor. And we're going to hopefully get these guys some money, because it's expensive to live, but it's more expensive to live and train. And a lot of these guys work full-time jobs.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a great thing. And we need fighters to sign up, and we're not asking businesses to build a page to be sponsors, though that wouldn't hurt if you're involved at all in combat sports or know somebody who is. It's just free advertising for a business. So the more business pages that are on here, the more clicks on the website we get, the better it is for us, the better advertising it is for them.
And it's something me and you talked about before we set up the interview, is just like Man, fighter pay is crazy. And then, as you were just talking about, a lot of these guys, work 9 to 5s, regular jobs, and then try to also squeeze training in on top of it because they're not able to live freely to the point where they can just concentrate on training. And they have this company, that company that actively takes care of them on a regular basis, not just when they're getting ready for a big fight. So it's very crucial, not just for the high level athlete, but your up and coming amateur, your pro fighter that's won the five fights into their career. They don't have that following, that support. They normally rely on local businesses and things that are close to home to kind of help get them through that. Obviously, a lot of times you see some of these fighters, they link up with fight management companies and really rely on them to get their walkout t-shirts made, get their fight outfits taken care of, fight banners situated. Like there's so many different things that they have to worry about on top of going to go fight. Then you also have to worry about the promoter wants you guys to sell tickets and do this and do that.
Yeah.
You guys are literally stretched all over the place, and so it's nice to hear I'm not even going to call it a company, a community like yours that is trying to connect both the athlete and the companies that are looking to get more eyes on them by sponsoring a combat sports athlete. You may not be to the level of your NFL players, your Big Four sports. To be able to do that. So I think what you're doing is an invaluable thing right now that maybe not a whole lot of people know about, and want to try to kind of do what I can to help you guys kind of spread the word and get some more companies involved, get some more fighters involved, and help spread the word as much as I can, my friend.
I appreciate you. And I work with a management company called CNC Management, and we mostly deal with guys that want to get into BKFC, but we also are dealing with a couple guys that do UFC Fight Pass, MMA situations, and boxing, and all kinds of stuff, dirty boxing even now. But that website is not just for people that are interested in bare knuckle or want to be part of the management company that I'm associated with. We got guys that are from Smith Brothers and all kinds of stuff that are kind of rival management companies, but the website is for everybody, and I don't treat anybody any different.
Yeah. And listen, man, people like you are few and far between, my friend. It's the combat sports world is a dirty, dirty world. There's very few good-hearted, genuine people that are involved in it. Everyone always says that we see the Don Kings of the world still continuing making money off of the backs and blood, sweat, and tears of other athletes, and it's very rare to see people that just want to genuinely see people continue to not have to struggle and fight from fight to fight, and not borrow Peter to pay Paul just to continue to potentially have their dreams. It's rough, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Not a problem. And speaking of people, leeching off other people to make their name, obviously, Jake Paul is one of these guys. Either you love him, you hate him. Listen, I'll always say this right now. I'll continue to say this. I will not respect him as a boxer until he regularly fights guy his own age, his own weight class, etc. The stuff that's going on right now with Tank Davis is beyond laughable.
Stupid.
But I will say he always puts a good undercard on it that makes you just, man, now I have to tune in.
Anderson Silva is an excellent boxer.
Yes.
Let's be real. He's an athlete, and when he does something, he takes it seriously. But Jake Paul, let's be honest, man. Tommy Fury is not an excellent boxer, but he's a younger dude and he put hands on Jake Paul.
I think it's funny, like the legitimate boxers that have been calling him out mysteriously escape Jake Paul's mind, thoughts, tongue, whatever. Tommy Morrison has been begging. Tommy
Yeah.
Morrison's son, Kinsey Morrison, has been begging
Kenzie.
on every platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Twitter X, if it's Instagram, if it's Facebook, if it's Snapchat, if it's TikTok. He's been on every platform calling Jake Paul out at least once a week, maybe multiple times a week, to put on a fight. Rockman's son, he's been asking to get in with there. There's guys that has lineages to boxing that you could be fighting that are in your age group, weight classes, etc. And that Jake Paul's been keeping away like it's a bad cold or something. But
I trained a little bit with Kenzie Morrison's brother in Tulsa, and I follow Kenzie. He had Jake Paul's picture taped to a punching bag for like weeks, just punching the shit out of it.
Man, I can't wait for Kinsey to really, like. I mean, he obviously when BKFC was in Texas recently, he did his thing, man. Listen, I've been a proponent for him for a while. I don't know if a lot of people who follow combat sports know what Tommy's widow has been doing over the past years.
Yeah. Like, oh man.
I so want Ariel Helwani to put her on his show and really dig deep into it, because some of the stuff was going on with what was surrounding why Tommy had this and that going on in his life outside of the substance abuse stuff and stuff like that, like what really jackknifed his career, needs to be talked about. Needs to be investigated and people held accountable for it, because the fact that man died and there was no traces of the HIV virus in his body is a humongous red flag, and it needs to be investigated. Ariel Helwani, if you wind up coming across this one, reach out to Trisha Morrison and get her on your show. I mean,
they made
somebody.
Did you see that long post that she made?
Which one? Because she makes multiple ones a week. So I mean,
it was crazy. It was huge. I took the time to read it, and I was just like, wow.
One of the interesting things is, and I don't like to throw people's names under the buses or in that, but Kevin Iole was a big part of the Las Vegas State Athletic Commission's sanctioning body for a long period of time, to the point where his wife was one of the people that were involved with the medicals, and she's made some accusations that Kevin wasn't all on the up and up, and with some of the things that went on with that, the apparently from her claims and some of the stuff that I've seen, the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary is a complete utter total fabrication. So I mean, it's one of these weird things, man, that I think that's one of these things that we talk about. This is a dirty sport at sometimes, and
that's kind of hard to believe, but I mean, you never know.
I think some of the stuff that she has, she's got a leg to stand on, and I find it funny that we see all this other stuff get put on TV, podcast, whatever, but no one wants to sit down and hear a word this woman has to say. Come on. Yeah. But I wanted to get back into one more thing that Rhonda was sitting there saying.
Okay.
Apparently, she's not too happy with how people are still giving Khabib all this love. Her wording was not was not something I want to repeat on air, but basically was sitting there saying that people still got Khabib's in their mouth, and they still revere him to this level, because he was smart and knew when, like, listen, like, he was all on borrowed time. As much as he missed fights for injuries, blowing his knee out, he was smart to pick the right fights at the right time against the right people. I'm not going to fault him for that. But with that being said, he doesn't have the number of title defenses that a lot of these guys have.
No.
I won't put him on my GOAT list. I refuse to. Doesn't mean that he wasn't a great champion. Doesn't mean that he didn't help grow the sport in ways that some guys did it. I just like when I'm talking about my Mount Rushmore of fighters, at least when we're talking about the UFC, I won't have Khabib on there. So
No.
I hear he's saying that a lot of the Khabib fans think that he is like the greatest of all time. I don't see it because
I mean, let's be honest about something. He beat McGregor, but McGregor didn't have any grappling, none. So
not to Khabib's level, not to Khabib's level.
There's guys now that would just waste him. You know,
I agree. But you got to think like I agree when we're talking about the Conor McGregor situation. He hasn't been wholeheartedly hungry and involved for MMA in 10 years. Let's be honest.
No, yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of Conor, but and I've been around him a couple times, not like I've hung out with him or talked to him or anything. He was ringside at one of my fights. But I'm a big fan, man, and I don't like to talk shit about people, but come on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's not talking shit. I think if you ask him right now, he would say the same thing. I think Dana White was spot on. Once he had that Mayweather fight and they put $100 million in his pocket, stop. He sold his alcohol brand and made 4 times as much as he put into it. Like, yeah, the dude's living on a yacht. He's doing all kinds of stupid, silly. Do you blame him? Where he came from? No.
He don't need.
There's not enough teachers in this world to teach young men how to deal with that level of fame, that level of money. We talk about the NFL has symposiums every year where they sit the rookie classes down and they talk to NFL veterans and they just tell them, like, listen, like things to look out for. There's nothing like that in combat sports. It doesn't matter if we're talking whatever. There's no one to sit down and talk to these guys when you make X amount of money, when you're being proclaimed as one of the baddest, mofos on this planet, of how to keep yourself grounded and still wanting to compete at that level. There's nothing for it, and I think he became a victim of that. That's a victim of his own success. When I say victim, so it is what it is, and we're talking about Conor. Obviously, we got to bring up what just happened a few weeks ago with he got that 18-month suspension for the whereabouts thing for the UFC's anti-doping policy.
Yeah, but what does that even matter? Because that 18 months is up before the White House card, and that's all he's really doing. I doubt, honestly. I bet the UFC will let him out of that 2-fight contract, and he will fight one time in BKFC because he's a part owner, and that is the end.
I agree. I said it a while ago. I think here's the other thing about the UFC contract. There's 2 things to that. Yes, he signed a 3-fight deal, but there's also a time period that he has to have those 3 fights in before the contract becomes null and void. I think it's a few years after the fact, but I think you're right. I think when they get hit situated, I think he is going to fight Michael Chandler. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that. That fight is going to happen, and that Dana will allow him out of his contract at that point in time, and you will see him fight either Jeremy Stevens or Mike Perry. I think Jeremy Stevens should get that fight point blank and period because it completes a story.
Yeah,
because remember,
I love that. I love that.
Lines is who the fuck is that guy, right? That story has to be completed. Everyone wants to say that we'd rather see him fight Mike Perry. Mike Perry's been running from Mundell for almost 2 years now. I I have no interest in seeing that fight. You know, he can sit there and say he's the baddest MNFer on this planet. You're not the baddest guy in your weight class. I don't want it. Mike Perry's an awesome entrepreneur. You know, I love what he's doing with dirt boxing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I also think that Conor should fight someone closer down to his weight class.
I think Mike Perry wastes Conor McGregor in bare knuckle, and I love Conor McGregor. I think Mike Perry actually absolutely murders him in a bare knuckle fight. Jeremy Stevens, though, maybe.
That's my prediction. I think it's going to be Jeremy Stevens over Mike Perry for the exact reason. But the other one I was just getting to, I think because Jeremy's closer to his natural weight class. That you know, Jeremy started at 45. You know, he came up to 55, went up even more when he just fought Mike Perry.
Yeah,
I think Perry would have to beat Mundell before Conor would entertain that, and I don't see that fight happening. I don't see it happening at least over the next year. We'll see what happens, but I agree. I think that we will get a one-off goodbye. I guarantee you it will be at a Knucklemania. I don't know if it will be 2 years from now, however that plays out, but it will be at a Knucklemania. It won't be at a regular pay-per-view event. It'll be at one of their bigger events.
Well, they're about to do these the tryouts again in Philly for BKFC, and then there'll be a Knucklemania right after that. Yep. I mean, as soon
as it got sanctioned here in PA, dude, this is Dave Feldman's backyard. This is where he grew up. I had no doubt about it. That's why I was blessed that my kids were able to go see that. Had one of the local fighters hook up my kids with tickets, and then last minute I actually got media credentials because one of my friend who does the bare knuckle news, she got sick and was like, "I need your help. Can you help me out?" I'm like, "Well, I would rather watch the fight with my kids, but I mean, if you really need my help, then I was able after the fight get my kids to come down backstage. They met Rothwell, they met Jeremy Stevens, they ran into Beck Rollins, so it's one of those things where I was able to create a lasting memory for them. So I can't put a dollar amount on that. It didn't matter bad or what. So, was able to do that. But yeah, they're about to have a tryout here in Philadelphia where apparently, Dave,
the golden ticket. Yeah.
He's doing the Willy Wonka thing.
That's cool though. I got nothing but respect and good things to say about the organization. They kind of, I got 3 losses and they kind of got me on the back burner. They're talking about me fighting dirty boxing. I got an offer to fight Derek Brunson like last month, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, I was at the fights this last weekend cornering a guy from my gym that I train with. He's a much better fighter than me, usually heavier, bigger, and stronger. But I was teaching him some shit in the gym, trying to get him ready for this. And he went out and knocked this guy out in like 25 seconds. So it was awesome. Dave Feldman.
Outside of that, tell me how was the Michigan event? Obviously, you were behind the scenes cornering guys and stuff like that. What was the experience this weekend, brother?
It was small, bro. It was small, but I think it was a feeler to see, what the deal was, and their production is always very good. It was live. Everybody loved it. The fights were good. The matchups were pretty decent, man. I'm not going to lie. And sometimes when you see those fights, it's a one-way slaughter for about 75% of them. But these ones were bangers, some knockouts. The first 2 fights were my guy and Ruben Arroyo got stopped in the first round, but I've been stopped in the first round my damn self, so I'm not gonna throw any shade at anybody for getting in there and banging knuckles.
Yeah.
It was a good show, man. I really enjoyed it, and I think everybody there did.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the sport is the growth of what bare knuckles doing is reminding me of like after The first Ultimate Fighter UFC, where with the growth that we've seen it like internationally, getting more of the 50 states here in North America to sanction it, where we're starting to see like over the last year, I think we've seen at least 7 states
Yeah. And
get
there's more on the way. And I got to tell you, bro, is Dave Feldman. You can hate him or whatever, but he's a sharp businessman, and I've talked to him a little bit through messages about different business things, trying to be useful to the cause and get wedge my way in a little bit. Haven't quite been successful with that yet, but they throw these tryouts. The tryouts are they do grab a couple guys from the tryouts usually and are like, oh, this dude's got some skill. Let's get him. But those things are all, to feel out and see after they legalize if there's gonna be sold out shows, and then after the tryouts, there's always an event. So they're cultivating the culture,
Yeah, they've what I think what Dave has done, man. Like he's created a culture, and we talk about this all the time when we're talking about football and baseball. Like it all starts with the culture from the front office down to what the players or athletes are. What Dave has done is definitely unique. He is made himself in that mold of like what we were just talking about with Dana White. When Dana White goes away from the UFC, that the UFC is going to suffer. I think the same thing would happen regardless of who would take Dave's position. You can't just leave Conor there. You can't leave that wild man to
no way.
Run the whole show. You have to have somebody to kind of bring him back down to earth, and that I think that's what Dana and Conor has done masterfully over the last 2 years is build a connection, know what works best, and I think what they've done has been amazing. So, definitely, he is a rare one. And speaking of rare ones, I got to get your thoughts on this one. We're talking about culture and stuff like that. Why is Kimbo's son not for whatever reason the last 2 times he's been booked for fights, it's been all this controversy around it. He's been disappearing.
Oh my God. I'm probably the worst person to talk to about this.
I mean,
because
listen, I want everyone's opinion. Like Dad
when
Kimbo was up here, man.
When he didn't show up this last time, he was supposed to come to Florida, and I posted a bunch of memes with the Bermuda Triangle, told people he was flying into Florida and I showed where the Bermuda Triangle was at. I put his face on a milk carton, all kinds of shit. And his opponent that he was supposed to fight, Perez, he laughed at the shit, but it was a sore subject. I don't know, man.
He was supposed to be here in for the Philly Knucklemania. I forget who was he supposed to fight. Who's the kid's name?
I don't know.
Influencer. Man.
They never should have rescheduled him after that, though. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that was one of the reasons my daughter was excited, because the influencer is some guy that he follows. He follows me on X, but like it, didn't get a chance to set anything up interview wise. But it's definitely one of these guys that it would. If Kimbo Jr. actually showed up, it would have probably been a fight that he would have been favored to win. But I mean, this is the second time. We were just talking about some of the things they got you situated because the rules they have in place are on the back burner. If you don't show up for 2 fights that they waste their time on, I think that pretty much puts you on the list, right?
BKFC got this new rule system that they just enacted, and they're trying to lower the age limit of the fighters that are involved. Now, I'm 43, so I'm included in this. If you're over 40, if you got losses, and if you've been inactive for X amount of time, you're not going to fight. So
that makes me ask the question, because older fighter. I'm gonna bring up Houston Alexander. He's over the age of 50. He's 3-0. You know, he's won all of his bare knuckle fights that he's had. I thought we would see him when they went back to Nebraska earlier in the year, when they went back to Omaha. I thought we were going to see him, but we didn't. So I'm assuming at this point in time that Houston's retired. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, this time next year they go back to Omaha again. You think they would keep him away from having like a walk-off fight? Because he would be what, like 51, 52 years old at the time.
No, I think that it's a company policy, and I think that if it suits the company, they'll go ahead and bend all the rules that they want. I hate to say it, but I've heard that even when the commission's involved in something, if they want it to happen, it will. And when you're powerful enough, you know the deal. You know, you're like, hey, can you help us with this? And of course they're going to if they can.
Yeah. Yeah, me and you were talking about some stuff, before we set this up off of air along those lines, where, some of the times they make things happen because it benefits them, and sometimes they'll shut things down because they're worried about what could potentially happen. So
yeah.
We were talking about the Frankie Edgar situation, and that was unfortunate. I'm not one of these ones. I'm not going to sit there and blow roses up BKFC's butt all the time.
Yeah.
But I've also already said on here, no one has a perfect formula for that. I get why you would want to protect yourself in that situation, but you had already went through the process with Frankie. So regardless if you paid him or not, I think that was kind of a crappy thing to do, regardless of the fact.
So do I.
Understand the other side of it. If Jimmy wiped the floor with Frankie, and Frankie wound up in a medical situation, that you were the one that brought him out there after he had already lost 3 fights in a row before he walked away from the UFC. But I'm not gonna throw too much more shade at that. And I know we're getting close to the end of this. I did find something on your Facebook I wanted to bring up. So I see you're a Niners fan, brother.
Niner Nation, bang, bang, Niners gang, bro.
What do you think about the game today, man?
Oh, man, I'm still driving back right now from Michigan to Iowa, so I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
What happened?
I thank God that your head coach had the mindset enough to bring in Mac Jones, because if not, I think y'all would be in a very, very difficult situation.
Oh man, I love it. He's doing better than anybody thought he would. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think he absolutely has reestablished that he was definitely in the wrong place. And he definitely deserves another chance. We'll see if Shanahan's smart enough to deal him to like New Orleans or Las Vegas during the offseason, get some picks, get some get some stuff in the building where they can make some moves. But I'll say this much right now: you guys have a fairly good schedule because of the injuries and stuff where you guys played out last season. I think that's going to help you guys over the next 2 months. Listen, obviously I'm an Eagles fan, so yeah, we're sitting in good position. Hey, listen, there ain't no love lost. Obviously,
they're all right.
We have a new rivalry. It's not even a real rivalry, but if people remember most, y'all knocked us out of the playoffs a couple times over the last 20, 25 years. So the Ray Rhodes team that we had Ricky Waters on, y'all beat the brakes off. I think it was like 27-0 or something like that. Knocked us out of playoffs before. So like we have some rivalry. Obviously, Purdy getting hurt early in that game a few years ago probably was the worst thing that could ever happen. But I mean,
so that picture that you showed was at that Kansas City game in Kansas City, and
I see right.
People were dumping beer from the upper parts as I walked out, yelling at me and shit. And I'm telling you what, the guy that I was with was like, man, don't say nothing. I said, fuck that. Bring your ass down here and trying to get them dudes down.
I'll say this much, man. Like, people love to give the Eagles fans crap, dude. We ain't wasting no beer on y'all. I'm sorry.
All right, all right. I appreciate that. I was in Philly. I was in Philly for a fight a little while ago. I know that what you're saying is true.
Listen, we ain't wasting beer on people. Like, listen,
Hey,
we'll
cheesesteaks are disgusting, though. I wanted to put that on the record.
listen. Where'd you go? I gotta ask. Where'd you go?
I went to Phil's, and I
Ah,
did not. I
ah.
did not like it.
All right, listen. That'll be another name I had to list. Never go to Pattergino's. Those are absolute tourist attractions.
Those are the places people told us to go. Pat's and Phil's.
Oh, those are. It's literally a tourist attraction anymore. They are not. It's not the same place it was 30, 40 years ago. Like if you're going after like Tony Luke's isn't bad. The Sandros is probably the place to go. I love of Steve's Prince of Steaks. There's one here in the Northeast. There's another one further down the boulevard. I think that's one of the better places. Like it really does depend on where you go in the city, on what type of steak you're going to get. What you need to do next time you come is actually link up with an actual somebody from Philadelphia. Have you go? Maybe we'll call Big Dom from the Eagles and tell him to show you where the best steaks are.
Well, look, the guy that I fought was John Garbarino, and I should have asked him because he slapped a little cannoli on me in the weigh-ins.
Yeah, man.
But
Johnny,
nah,
he's now made that a thing. He has made that a thing. I got to give him that. I actually before that fight, he was when they did the pre-fight press conference over at Parks. I actually ran into his team. He actually helped me get a few autographs for my son from Conor McGregor. So got nothing but love from them guys. It's I'm obviously a rough situation for you. You're basically you had a trend started on your dime. You know what I mean?
Well, I was the second guy, and I didn't get slapped across the face with it, so I was all right.
Smacked in the gut.
Yeah. He invited me to the after party and shit. I wasn't too mad. I took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, and I was up a couple weight classes, but
he's an interesting guy. Like we were talking.
He's pretty cool. He gave me a shirt. I fuck with him a little bit, so.
Yeah, Johnny's a cool dude. Like, regardless of, him being an opponent, you having to fight him or whatever. I think he's one of these guys that, has the potential to be a huge star in bare knuckle. And,
I agree.
From Philly, we were talking about before is my man Lex Ludlow.
He's funny as hell.
Yo, man, yeah, exactly. He is a pure pro wrestling concept when it comes to fighting.
That other dude that he fought was funny as hell too. What's his name?
What, Rumsey?
No, the dude he fought in Philly.
Conor McKenna.
Conor McKenna, dude, I can't believe that. Dude, I watch his TikTok and all that shit. He is a funny motherfucker, bro. Oh my god! And they were talking to each other that whole fight.
Yo, listen, we got some characters here in Philadelphia. I'm not going to sit there and say we have all the best fighters. We have the best sports team. One thing's for sure, we do got the best fans. I don't care what anyone says. No one travels like Philadelphia fans, regardless if we're talking your major four sports. If you're talking about combat sports, I think that just as fans of sports in general, we just get it. We know we travel well. You see it, especially with the Eagles when we go into other team stadiums and you hear us just as much as you hear the hometown fans. So, I think it's one of the rare things that we do have over other people. But getting back to the football part of it, how do you see your boys playing out the rest of the season? You see you guys keeping the division, bringing the division title back, or do you think somebody like the Rams are gonna want to win the division? You'll get in as a wild card. Like how are you feeling?
No. I think we come back and clinch the division, man. I don't care what happens as long as the Seahawks never go anywhere. And I'm from Seattle, and I can't stand them. So.
Listen, it's the same way. Like I'm an Eagles fan. My rivals start the New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders. That's the way it always starts. Cowboys fans just have a special place.
Yeah,
I can It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. I just love to watch that team fall apart. I'll keep saying it. You know, for whatever medical doctors and medical experts that there are in the world, make sure you keep Jerry Jones alive for another 100 years, because I cannot get enough of that soap opera that he continues to run.
He's got enough money. He's got enough money. Hey, my phone's about to die, brother.
All right, brother. Real quick before we let you go, let everyone know where to find you. Let everyone know where to where to catch you.
I am the guy on the couch on TikTok. I am Tough Guy Tuesday on Instagram, and Rayne Wells on Facebook. Sponsorfighters.com is my website, and reach out to me. Get to me however you can.
All right, Rayne. Appreciate your time this evening. Get back on the road, drive safely, get home safely.
And, hey, this was the best podcast I've ever been on, man. I appreciate you.
Listen, sorry for the technical difficulties with the internet kicking out, but we were still able to get everything done. I'll shoot you some of the clips that StreamYard pops out, and we'll share everything we can. Appreciate the time, man. Have a safe trip.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Not a problem. All right, everyone. That was Mr. Rayne Wells. Couldn't have a better way to end our Sunday evening here on the South Florida Tribune Media Network. Really appreciate Rayne for hopping on to today. We'll definitely have him back on again at some point in time in the future. Talk some fight game. Maybe we'll get him to hop in here to talk some football with us when it's prevalent to talk some 49ers. We'll see what the future brings for us. Again, guys, make sure you guys are checking out Fight Wax. Make sure you guys are checking out the sponsor fighters community. If you're a up and coming fighter, if you're a potential sponsor, make sure you guys are linking up with Rayne's company there. Other than that, this was another fun one here on the South Florida Tribune Media Network, and another great one for us here on the Real and the Rare. I will be back tomorrow evening with Scott for the Professor and the Pupil. So appreciate everyone for hopping in today. Appreciate Rayne for his time, and we will see you.